And then we have Wood, Jordan Daniel Wood, his book 22, as you mentioned, The Whole Mystery of Christ. And he uh, places himself in this kind of line from Balthasar down to Pearl, while distinguishing himself from them. And he does that in a way where you could say it's a very Tolleson uses the word provocative
Hmm.
way, where he essentially wants to uh, put Maximus scholarship on a proper foundation, which for him is to say simply that creation is incarnation. That's the same thing, if I
That
understand it.
was yes, no, that was one of the things that struck me. So I interviewed Dr. Wood a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and we had an opportunity to discuss that portion of his work. And uh, I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! What high level theology that." And to truth be told, I didn't really understand every word of it. And I told him this, and I said, "I'm going to have to watch my own video to listen again and take notes because this is." It was very intriguing. It
Yeah,
was. It's astonishing in a certain sense to make that assertion that creation itself is God incarnating. And it's almost, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's almost as if to say God is still becoming.
yeah,
I don't think he would say that, but there's a hint of that. At least maybe you could take it that way. And so let me ask you a very pointed question.
mm,
Um, if Wood conceives of the we would say the logos human nature relation as being uh, identical according to hypostasis, and this is to be distinguished from Pearl and von Balthasar, who say it's analogical or participatory. Can you just walk me through each of those ways of relating, the ways the logos would relate to the human nature in Christ? Is the question? Am I
yeah, yeah,
asking it
yeah, yeah.
properly?
No,
Okay,
it's good.
I went off script a little bit, but
No, no, that's very interesting. I mean, it's I think even Pearl and Balthasar would say that the logos, the Son, is identical in hypostasis with his human nature. Like
okay,
that's it. That's the hypostatic union, according to Chalcedon. Two natures in one person. What's the this difference? So they all, at least in formulation, and I don't know, and then you have to tease out what they mean by those very terms, nature and person. That's precisely where the differences start. So you have a common basis, hypostatic identity, hypostatic union, distinction of nature and person, which is given by the Council of Chalcedon and the subsequent development. Um, but then it becomes very complicated once you start to define those terms. And you can even see that in the history after Chalcedon. Chalcedon usually is considered to be a sort of end point of an arc of a development of Christology in the ancient church.
hmm
At Chalcedon, you sort of say, okay, now we have the clear formula, we can stop arguing. But when you look at the history, that's when the arguments actually really started between
yes,
monophysitism and diaphysitism and so on. Precisely because those very foundational terms, nature and person, are so hard to define and to get a grasp of, you know. And so it's really a big challenge to try to figure out what somebody means when they use those terms. And um, it becomes even more complicated when, as Balthasar, Pearl, and Wood are doing, is when they say, well, the hypostatic union that we have in Christ, so Christology, is not just an isolated discipline within the larger subset of theological disciplines, distinct from philosophy and so on, but their claim is, and what unites those three, is to say that, as Balthasar says, Chalcedonian Christology is at the heart of metaphysics and of the God-world relation as such. And for Balthasar, this means this is the case because in Christ and the relation of the in the relation of the Logos to the human nature, in unity with his divine nature, we have a kind of logic of what a proper kind of distinction is and what a proper kind of unity is between God and the world. So the famous adverbs of Chalcedon, unmixed, undistinct, or unseparated, unchanged. The sequence is unmixed, unchanged, unseparated, or undivided. So these four adverbs with which Chalcedon describes the unity of the two natures in Christ, for Balthasar, Pearl, and Wood also bespeak the kind of relationship God in general has to the world. And Wood goes all the way of saying, well, no, this is actually the same. Like, this is the relation God has to the world, is this hypostatic union, seems to me.